History and Philosophies of the Jamaica Labour Party, Part 1. Welcome to the fifth in a series of news magazine podcasts, Get the Facts. Sir William Alexander Clark Bustamante, a former member of the People's National Party. In the beginning, when local politics had just began in Jamaica, Bustamante was a member of the People's National Party. He was a very charismatic individual who was loved by many. He wanted to lead so badly that he would stop at nothing to achieve his goals. He traveled the length of breadth of Jamaica organizing protests and riots while contributing little or nothing to the movement. It is said that at the launch of the People's National Party, he suggested to Norman Washington Manley that the PNP be named Jamaica Labour Party. This was flatly rejected by Mr. Manley. Manley remarked that, "This party is of the people and for the people." Naturally, this did not go down well with Busta, as he had desperately wanted to contribute something to the new party, but he was generally seen as an academic lightweight, who lacks the vision to make a meaningful contribution to the independent process. Bustamante served time in prison. While not being utilized by the People's National Party on a regular basis, he was starting to feel left out, so Busta, being the very popular person he was among the workers, he went about doing what he did best. He had the power to start an uprising whenever he wanted to, so the colonial government saw him as a threat to the security of the Jamaican colony. On September 8, 1940, he was imprisoned on charges of subversive activities. Identifying the weak link traitor. During his time in prison, working under instructions from King George of England, then Governor Richards visited Busta at the Red Fence Detention Center in Up Park Camp, Kingston, where he was being incarcerated. The divide and rule strategy. The governor told Busta that while he was there in prison, the PNP was busy taking over the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union. This earned his wrath. He was furious, so Governor Richards offered a solution. He struck a deal with Busta. First instance of selling Jamaica. Governor Richards told Busta that Governor Richards can have him Busta released from prison if he agrees to leave the PNP and form his own party. He also promised Busta that England would help the JLP with financial aid and otherwise to win the elections. Busta loved the idea and agreed immediately. Now he has the chance of naming his own party. He was released in early 1942, 17 months after being incarcerated. On his release from prison, Busta set about laying the groundwork for the formation of the JLP. Jamaica Labour Party formed. Formed at the Ward Theatre as the political wing of the Bustamante Industrial Trade Union, Bustamante, better known as Alexander Bustamante or Busta, launched the Jamaica Labour Party on July 8, 1943 and was unanimously endorsed as its leader. Harold Allen, a teacher from Portland, was elected the chairman, and Lyndon G. Newland, a journalist from St. Thomas, was elected secretary. Busta, whom at the time of the party's formation was a dissident member of the People's National Party whom had earlier defected. Formed to preserve colonialism. A neo-colonial conservative organization by principles, a lot of the founding members were known colonialists, much of whom had either served in the colonial government or the legislature. It was on the following basis that it was formed: 1. To keep the PNP in check, and 2. To oppose their independence plans. Choosing the party symbol. This was very easy for Busta and his team. The party was formed to uphold the principles and everything that colonialism stood for. Because the bell was used to summon slaves during slavery, and the supporters were for the most part seen and treated as slaves, it was very easy for the bell to be chosen as the party symbol. Opposing universal adult suffrage. Being a staunch supporter of colonialism, Busta and the Jamaica Labour Party, as expected, opposed the very thought of Jamaicans having the right to vote for their own government. Mr. Manley did not relent though. He fought tooth and nail until it became a reality. On December 14, 1944, the Jamaica Labour Party won the first general election under universal adult suffrage. The JLP got 22 of the 32 seats while the PNP won only 4 seats. Busta led first local team in the Executive Council. First one honored by the British. In 1948, Sir Harold Allen, JLP MHR member of the House of Representatives for East Portland, first black Jamaican to be knighted. Other colonialists to have joined the ranks of the JLP are Sir Donald Burns Sangster and Robert Lightbourne, among others. Sangster, a lawyer by profession, a very well-polished and dedicated Laborite, but Busta did not fancy him, as just like the present leader Andrew Michael Holness, Bustamante was very uncomfortable with bright people around him. They won the second election too. They went on to win the 1949 elections as well, albeit with a reduced majority. The PNP received more popular votes, 203,048, to the JLP's 199,538, but the JLP secured more seats, 17 to the PNP's 13. 2 seats were won by independents. The voter turnout was 65.2%. After opposing the first step of Jamaica's independent process, universal adult suffrage, Bustamante and the JLP won the first 2 general elections. They masqueraded as government from December 1944 to January 1955. Those 2 Bustamante terms were seen as wasted. Nothing was done as it relates to the push for independence. All this time the colonial masters were still fully in charge. Whatever was done during those years can never be credited to the JLP, as even the opposition then, led by N.W. Manley, implemented a number of projects. Bustamante honored by England. In the early 1950s, Busta publicly pledged allegiance to King George of England and declared his loyalty to the monarchy. He did not stop there. He continued by stating that independence is slavery. It was also in the early 1950s he became Jamaica's first chief minister, and was referred to as chief by many. For his services and loyalty to the British monarchy, in 1955 Bustamante was commended and appointed a Knight Grand Cross of the Order of the British Empire, GBE. Himself and the JLP had lost the general elections in January of that year, so he was now in opposition. They were losing for the very first time. Busta rebels against education. After starting the Common Entrance Examination in 1957 to provide high school spaces for children of the less fortunate, Premier Manley went further to offer 2,000 free spaces to the same class of children. Bustamante and the Jamaica Labour Party raged in anger, led a protest with some of his loyal followers chanting, "We don't want any education, education can't eat, give us salt fish," and, "We don't want any scholarship, give us sugar ships." Premier Manley weren't daunted by Busta's action. He knew he had a nation to build, so he went ahead in implementing his plans. Today JLP supporters benefits more from that program than PNP supporters could ever dream of. Having no clear idea or plan. Just like all the other JLP leaders that came after him, it was said that Busta was consistently inconsistent. This moment he would support the independence process and the next moment he was against it. He would shape his views based on what was popular and trending at the time. Edward Seaga homecoming. In 1959, after his failed attempts to join the People's National Party, Edward Philip George Seaga was accepted in the Jamaica Labour Party. The leader of the PNP at the time, N.W. Manley, did not trust Seaga. He said Edward was too radical and sounded like a communist. In Bustamante's mind at the time, in finding Seaga he had found a gem, an abundance of talent. Edward was just what the JLP needed at the time to gain some traction. Busta all but handed the JLP to Seaga. He was immediately appointed to the Legislative Council, what we know today as the Senate. Busta consistently inconsistent. He would be, in this moment, out the next moment, and continuing to shape his views off of what seems popular at the time, regardless of his previous position. In 1961 Busta finally decided to oppose the West Indies Federation, forcing Premier N.W. Manley to call a referendum which himself and his Jamaica Labour Party won. The federation was the second attempt at the independence process. Bustamante opposed it. N.W. Manley, never say die, attitude. Immediately after losing the referendum, chaired by himself, Premier Manley set up a joint select committee with Jamaica's independence in mind once and for all. He first took on the task of writing a new constitution, as this was one of the key components that the Colonial Office in London, England were demanding for the independent process to be started. Bustamante and the Jamaica Labour Party had no choice but to come on board. It was what was trending at the time. 11 members of the PNP and 5 members of the opposition JLP, which included Busta, Seaga among 3 others. Mr. Manley, along with key members of the governing People's National Party, set out for London, England. It was Operations Jamaica's Independence. Out of protocol he took along with him opposition leader Alexander Bustamante and other JLP members from the Joint Select Committee. Jamaica independence in February. In February 1962, and during Premier Manley's visit to England, the colonial masters finally buckled under the pressure and granted Jamaica the independence that Mr. Manley had long been dreaming of. The date of the independence inauguration was set for August 6, that same year. Premier Manley, opposition leader Alexander Bustamante and the rest of the team returned to Jamaica. Manley was very happy, and being a man of principle and good values, he thought it would be more than appropriate to seek a new mandate from the people whom he had fought the slave masters in England for. General election at independence. General elections date set for April 10, 1962. Mr. Manley called the election midway through his own term. The Jamaica Labour Party won the election once again. The people have chosen Busta and his colonial ideologies over freedom once again, effectively giving the 78-year-old Bustamante with little or no formal education the mandate to take Jamaica into independence. Knowing Busta abilities, or the lack thereof, the British governor on the day had serious doubts about whether the right person was elected to spearhead the necessary programs and projects needed to build a new independent nation. Sadly, as fate would have it, like it or not, the governor was right. Jamaica still have not recovered from those disastrous mistakes. Busta had to continue the process. The PNP had gained independence but lost the election, so it was left to Bustamante and his JLP to prepare Jamaica for the inauguration. They had a little over 3 months to plan this plus other independence celebrations. They were the ones who had to choose an anthem, the national bird, flowers, dish, plant, pledge, the colors and design of the national flag, coat of arms, motto, etc. Because Busta was such a corrupt individual, there are skeptics whom up to this day are of the opinion that the national dish was chosen by him because of his undying love for salt fish. In an effort to keep the colonial heritage, the design of the national flag, the X was deliberately chosen, as it is the same design as the Scottish flag. Scotland is a part of the British monarchy. The coat of arms has in it the red and white cross of St. George, which happens to be the England flag. The motto, out of many, one, is the same as what used to be that of the USA, while the black and green in the national flag are the colors of the Jamaica Labour Party. Jamaica as an independent nation will never prosper until these Bustamante anomalies are corrected. The PNP fought for and gained Jamaica's independence. Some members of the Jamaica Labour Party claims independence as a Jamaica Labour Party legacy, even though Busta opposed it in every way, shape and form initially. For videos, please visit and subscribe to the TikTok Shamar_L_Sharma on the Facebook, Instagram and YouTube channels of the One Jack Ulrich Horner. Capitalists show a posse, fake prosperity keeps standing in the way of Jamaica and progress. The comments expressed in this article are solely those of yours truly and not those of the People's National Party.